Let's get going. Okay, good morning. Awesome to see everybody. I'm going to share with you what I think is actually an unbelievable line tucked away in the middle of what's called our Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah is like a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, which is our code of Jewish law, which is sort of the organizing structure of our general approach to all of Jewish law. And there is a line here which I think will transform what we do when we go to work. If you saw, the title for today's was Why Jews Should Not Work for Money. Now, let me take a back step about why this is relevant, I think, to this week's Torah portion. So, a couple of years ago, I actually spent Shabbos in Hebron. There's a very big Shabbos that's there on Parshas Chayit Sarah when Avram purchased Hebron to bury. The Gemara tells us actually ages ago that there are three areas in Israel that were purchased because we didn't want to have any dispute over who owns them. One is Hebron, one is Shechem, where Yosef is buried, and one is Har HaBayis, where the Temple Mount is, which is crazy if you think about it, because those three places are the places we have an actual, description of our purchase of them right out, not just relying on our history, and yet all three of those are, heavily contested and disputed to this very day. However, let's just talk about the story of how we got Mars Machpelah. So Avram, after his 10 tests, his wife, Sarah, dies, and he has to find a burial place for him. And this is where he wants. There's lots of reasons why this was a specific place. And there was a guy by the name of Ephron who owned the property. He was he was in real estate. And Avram said, listen, Avram was well known at this point. He was known to be this, holy roller in the world. And Avram approaches this guy and says, I'd really like this space. Now, if you just look at the basic text of it, Ephron is just a shrewd businessman, meaning he owns property. Everybody's looking to get top dollar. I know that even in this market where the market is soft, there are certain people that want to buy property, but people that are waiting for the big developer to come say, even though I can't get the money now, I'm going to hold off on it because I know the market's going to go up. And he just wants to do good business. So Ephron, according to the pshat, the simple understanding, is just sitting there and trying to get top dollar from Avram. Yet for some reason, we paint this picture of Ephron as being not such a good guy. And the question is, what exactly, he's just doing business. What are you holding it against him for? So hold that question aside. We're going to come back to it. We're going to jump to a totally random piece of a halacha. So the Shulchan Aruch says as follows. When it comes to a person who writes Sifrei Torah or mezuzahs or tefillin, there's a principle called osek b'mitzvah, pater ben a mitzvah. When a person's engaged in a mitzvah, they don't have to do other mitzvos. Right? If you're busy, that's why, for example, in owning, God forbid we should have anyone who, experiences a loss anymore. But the period in between burial, in between death to burial, it's called aninus. During then, the person who is the avel, the mourner, doesn't do any mitzvos, nothing. Why not? Because they're busy in ensuring that there's a proper, respectful burial, and therefore everything else is off. And they don't have to do any positive commandments. They can't do negative ones. You can't kill, you can't whatever. But positive ones, you don't put on tefillin, you don't light your shot, like nothing. So there's a mitzvah that when a person's sitting there and writing or selling tefillin or mezuzahs or a sefer Torah, they're pater min a mitzvah. If they can't do another mitzvah at the same time, they're going to miss the opportunity. It's totally okay. So let's say a person has to say Shema and they're going to miss it because they're busy selling tefillin to a bar mitzvah kid. So they miss Shema. If they could do both, do both. But if they're going to miss it, they miss it. That's the halacha. Now along comes the Mishnah Berurah. I'm taking off my glasses. I'm going to read small print here, but you got to hear this line. It's insane. So you'll say, wait, the guy's doing business. He's not doing a mitzvah. He's making a sale. There's a transactional sale. A kid's coming with his dad, his mom. They want to buy their bar mitzvah tefillin, and he's making a buck. So what do you mean he's in a mitzvah? He's just doing business. So the Mishnah Berurah says as follows. Even if you're earning money, but dafka only im ikar kavanasam, if your main intention is in order to go out and sell it to somebody who needs it so they can do the mitzvah, then it's osek that you're involved in a mitzvah and you're pater. However, if the ikar of your kavana is just to make a buck, then you're not osek b'mitzvah anymore. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying is as follows. Listen very carefully. A person can be doing the exact same action as the other person. For one person, their focus is, I just want to make a buck. For the other person, the focus is, I just want to help people. There's a story that Ramosha was once watching someone who was putting in an elevator. He said, listen, when you put this elevator in the building, have the following intention. Your intention is you are saving people from having to walk 30 flights of stairs to their top floor condo. And that's why you're putting in the elevator because you want to be a nice guy and help people. You can't do that for free. So people are going to pay you in order to help you do something for them, right? A person, let's say, teaches our kids, right? You'll be like, what? They have a nice job. They're earning a buck. No, 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 no. These people want to raise the next generation. That's what they're doing. Ah, in order to do that, they have to put food on their table. So we have an obligation to pay someone, but their intention has to be, I'm doing it for a good purpose. And I'll tell a story. Rav Reisman says that his father was a baker in his town, and there were two bakers in the town where he came from. And one of the bakers' bakery got a massive fire. And everybody went up to Rabbi Reisman's dad and said, wow, this is like best thing for business ever, right? So he went over to the other baker. He said, listen, how about you use my bakery in the morning and I'll use it in the evening and we'll find shifts so we can both do that. Everybody says, why are you doing that? He said, listen, the way I view it is me and him, let's call it for the sake of, Toronto familiarity, Grzinski's and Myzadies, we're in the business of providing challahs for the Jewish people on Shabbos. In order to have that schus, that merit of providing, we've got to earn a living. He says, I don't see him as competition to me. I see him as my partner in providing for the community. And when you have that lens, it changes what you do because you're no longer doing something just to earn a buck. You're doing something in order to say, listen, I'm here to produce some good in the world. Okay, in order to do it, I have to earn a living. I understand that. But all of a sudden, the part that you're aggressive on isn't the aggressiveness of being able to squeeze out every dollar. The aggressiveness is on how can I make as much impact and do as much good as possible. It's funny. By rabbis, the halacha is as follows: that I'm not allowed to get paid to teach Torah. You're not allowed to, right? In fact, the reason why we say you're not allowed to, the Medrash brings down, is because God gave it to us for free, right? We were at Sinai. He said, "Here's a book. Now I'm going to have the right. I'm going to go sell what he gave to me, for free. I don't have the right to do that. It's supposed to be given over from one to the next on its own." So what do they say I get paid for? It's a very interesting halacha. It's called schar batala. You get paid not to do something else. Now, understand what this means. It sounds like a loophole if you see it from the outside. If you understand it from the inside, it's the exact same principle. Meaning, listen, Baruch Hashem, I'm blessed with 8 children, 2 grandchildren. It should only continue to increase. We all know the cost of Jewish tuition. Everything's going up. I mean, yes, we have Generations Trust. We're doing our best, but everything's going up in life. So as much as I'd love to sit and teach all day long and do absolutely nothing else for free, I can't. It's impossible. So what does schar batala means? It means a person's not getting paid, a teacher's not getting paid to teach. They're getting paid not to do something else. Meaning, listen, really you have to put food on the table. So Lipner, I was at some point in business school going to law school. And in order to say, great, I want to make a shift. So what are you paying? You're saying, listen, how about this? Lipner, I think you might be able to teach a thing or two to the community. What were you going to earn as a lawyer? I want to pay you not to be a lawyer because it's more important that you put whatever tools Hashem gave you into the Jewish community. Meaning we want to be able to say, great, you know what? There's a talent that you have to help community. You're not getting paid for helping community because let's be honest, anyone who goes into work, community work, if they're really passionate about it, they're not doing it for the pay. They're doing it because they care deeply. It's one of the challenges that we face with next generation. Sometimes the motivation is, wait, this is a comparable job to others. It's not the way it's supposed to be viewed. The reason why a person should go into anything in life is because they want to make a meaningful difference. Once they're in that, so then the question is, okay, how do I make a buck within there? Ephron, if we go back to him, had an opportunity to say, I'm going to sit there. Imagine if I'm thinking about the King of England right now because right after this, I have to run to go meet the chief rabbi of England at the Taylor's home. He's in for Shabbos. Imagine if the King of England came over to somebody and said, you know what? I want to build something in Toronto, and would you help me do that? And it's going to be a magnificent edifice. A person can either say, great, here's the king. I can really take him for a ride. Or they can say, you know what? I have an opportunity to facilitate this royal endeavor on my own land. We'll figure it out. But what a covet, what an honor. Ephron had an opportunity to do something good for one of the most important people in the world. And as opposed to saying, great, I'm here to facilitate goodness. Maybe I can donate a little to the cause. I'll give you a deal. My goal isn't to sit there and how can I squeeze everything out. My goal is I want to sit there and leave a legacy of the values that I've done and the impact that I've made. And that's in every area. A person can be an accountant and have the mindset of, I'm there to be able to help people so that they can sit there and, make sure that they fill out correctly, they don't get penalized, they take whatever's coming to them from the government, that they file correctly. Okay, in order to do the job well, obviously I have to be paid to do that. But the mindset when you sit with that individual is a mindset of, I'm here to help. And you can have two people doing the exact same thing. And I think deep down, when we interact with people, we know what their driving force is. Is their driving force impact, make a difference? I'm here to serve, I'm here to help. Okay, now here's the business transaction, right? Or is it the opposite? Even on a small level, my daughter, who's like, got called to tutor this kid, and this kid was having a difficult time with every tutor, and somebody said to her, says, oh, you know what, if you're successful over here, it's really great to, you can tell the parents, you're killing it with this kid. The mindset was, I don't know, what's far market rate? Like, I'm just here to help the kid move forward. In order to spend time, I've got to whatever, but not here's an opportunity to squeeze out every dollar. Rather, here's the opportunity to make a difference in a child's life who other people have not been able to do up until now. That'd be a great opportunity if I can be successful within that and make a difference in this kid's life. And I think those values that drive what we do and how we do it. And so seeing so many people on the screen and knowing where they're in. Some people happen to be in school. Some people, like we joked with Howie, who switched his name, but he does work for the Toronto Hebrew Memorial Parks, right? Burial, you can be like, right, what's the goal? To give people a proper, respectful burial. And community, I see a bunch of people from UJ over here. The driving force of what we do always has to be impact, difference, provide value to somebody, and help them out. Okay, in order to do that, what should really happen, and this is, if you take the busker model of life, right? The busker model, which it might not work in practice, but in theory, it's so healthy. I just want to give people joy on the streets. Okay, I'll do that. Whatever you want to give is great. Meaning we shouldn't view it as, okay, what's it going to cost me to get this? Rather, we should view it as, wow, thank you so much for what you do. How can we properly compensate you for what it is that you've just done? On a personal note, I remember when I got involved in the rabbinate side of stuff, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will. I remember people came up and like were like, "Well, what do you charge for this service, or what do you charge for that service?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you charge for the service?" Right? A person who's getting married, I'm like, "Listen, to be honest, I'm the only one that's under the chuppah that's not related to anybody here. If you think I'm important enough in your life to sit under the chuppah, stand under the chuppah, and be a part of this most significant moment of your lives and your family's lives, like." Thank you. Like it's not a charge. It's an honor. It's a privilege. People often afterwards sit there and say, oh, you know what? Here's a little something. Whether they do or don't, honestly, it doesn't really matter. But if the starting point is, okay, listen, my fee schedule for doing services is ABC, right? And it happens in the cemetery side as well. My fee services to be able to do this, the ability to give someone a proper burial at the end of life and to be there for the family. How many times do we have to have such an impact for someone at such an important time? Can a person spend their entire day doing that? Of course. And not earn any money? Of course. But it shouldn't be, this is the fee to do business. We should be people. The flip side is when we see people adding value to life, we should be the ones to thank them, right? And whether they get a salary, we just send an email saying, thank you so much. Or we send them a little gift saying, I really appreciate the effort that you did. Here's a little extra something, whatever it might be. The driving value of the person doing it should always be, I'm doing it for the mitzvah. And the driving person of the person who receives something should be, you know what, but I feel so grateful. How can I compensate you for that? As opposed to the person working saying, listen, in order to do this, this is my fee schedule. And the other person sitting there being like, you know what, how can I sit there and find a way to, to get a bargain or deal and not have to pay as much as things go on? That's the ideal situation that the Torah sets up. The mindset of the person providing, the mindset of the person receiving, as opposed to both of them being takers. The truth is both of them are supposed to be givers. And when they focus on giving, one gives more value and the other one gives more appreciation. All that from this little line about whether or not it's a mitzvah, a person selling a Sefer Torah, selling a mezuzah, selling tefillin, it depends. If they're doing it, all they care about is making a living, it's just like trading chicken feed. If they say, you know what, I'm in this business because I want to help people do good things, right? All of a sudden, it's a totally different action as well. So what it means is everything we're doing in our life, we don't have to switch. We just have to make sure our mindset is the right mindset. If it's a mindset of mitzvah, what we're doing every second of our lives is valuable. If what the mindset is just making parnasa, All right, then afterwards, hopefully we'll give some tzedakah with it. Maybe we'll do a little chesed on the side, but it's episodic outside of our everyday lives as opposed to what drives us in everything we do. Chevra, 9:47, went 2 minutes over. Got to run go see Rabbi Mervis. Wishing everyone a good Shabbos, and look forward to seeing you next week. Now I'll figure out how to stop this thing. Here we go. Yeah, I just said